Section 2.3, we're going to talk about perhaps histograms and then its properties. First, when we are given a frequency distribution, we can perhaps turn this data into a graphical graphical data called a histogram. The way how we do that is we begin by labeling the height along the horizontal axis. So I'm going to go ahead and put these are the height of women as our horizontal axis. And then the vertical axis over here will be the frequency. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight along the x-axis and the y-axis so that stands out. So this is our x-axis, and then this is our y-axis. And we're going to use the lower limit. Now there's a few ways to make a histogram. One way is to use the lower limit at its height of women. Another is to use the boundary, and another is to use the midpoint. So there's three different ways, but I'm going to show you how to do it using the lower limit. So I will start by placing 55 here. Okay, and then 60 would be just 2 units away, so 60. And then 65, followed by 70, and followed by 75. So 55 to 60 to 65 to 70 to 75, and we should supposedly this should end at 80, right? The next number should be 80. So you label the height of women as your x-axis. And the y-axis is going to be the frequency, how many times a specific number of women fall into a certain range. So we're going to make each unit 10. So let's make this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then 90. Okay? And then we're just going to go ahead and graph and sketch accordingly. So I will first count between 50 and 60, between 50 and 59, there are 11 women that falls in this range. So go up to a maximum height of 11. So 11 is just slightly above 10, so go ahead and drop that. And then connect that with this line over here. So that would be our first bar, 60 to 64. There are 85 between 60 to 64. So go up to a maximum of 85, which is here. Connect that. And then over here, do the same. And then connect this horizontal bar across. And that would represent the number of women that is between 60 to 64. Similarly, 65 to 69, there are 90. So slightly go up a little bit to 90. Okay. And then connect them together like that. Between 70 to 74, there are 4 women between 70 to 74, which is a pretty small number. And then connect them over like that. And then 75 to 79. 75 to 79, there is just 1 person. So just draw a line through there. All right. And if you like, you can now shade in this bar to make it more visible. So add and shades the bar. Okay, and that's how you make a histogram for our frequency distribution, which is that. All right. Another thing that I would like you to be able to do is to look at a histogram and perhaps extract data or information from it. For example, by looking at this histogram right here, which represent the weight, the x-axis, and the vertical axis is the frequency, the number of times that a certain number of individual falls into that weight category. of a basketball team. So the first question here is how many people are on the team? So this is the data for that team. Well, we know that there is one person between 110 to 120. There's also one person between 120 to 130. There's 4 people weights between 130 to 140. How do I know there's 4 people? Because the highest that this bar goes up is 4. Similarly, there's 4 people here, 2 people in that area. There's no one weights between 160 and 170. And there's 5 people who weights between 170 and 180. So how many people are on the team? Well, if you count all these numbers together and add them, then that represents the number of people that are on the team. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 8, that's 15, 16, 17. How many people weight less than 150? Well, here's the cutoff for 150 right here. So the number of people that weights less than 150 would be there's 4 people, another 4, and then 2 more. So a total of 10 people weights less than 150, because anybody below the 150 threshold weights less than 150. So there are 10 people. What is the class width? Well, these are the lower limits. Lower limits. So the class width can be found. The class width can be found if you subtract the lower limits, which is 10. And now, what are the lower limits and the upper limits for the first class? Here is the lower limits for the first class. Here's the lower limits for the second class. So the lower limits for the first class would be 110, because that's the lower limit for the second class. The upper limits of the first class should be just slightly before that, which is 119. Okay. I will show you how to do this regarding interpreting the histogram in part 2 of this video.